What's up? Welcome back. Welcome back. I'm back. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to my channel. I'm glad you're watching. Today we're talking shop. It's all shop talk today. We're talking guitars, amps, and pedals. You think I do everything all by myself? My sound is not organic. I get a little help from some pedals and amps. And today we're talking about all that stuff. So, whenever this video makes its way to you and whenever you find your way to this video, whether it's now, later, years from now, I want you to leave me a comment on what kind of gear you run, because I love hearing about what other players use. I know what I use. I love hearing what you use and why you're using it. So tell me what you use and why you use it, because I'm going to tell you what I use and why I use it, because everybody wants to know. Well, I wouldn't say everybody, but some of you guys are like, hey, Mezzy, do a video on what you play. All right, let's do it. I don't play that much anymore, but there's enough to go around and talk about it, so let's do it. Years ago, growing up, I've had 50, 60 guitars, probably like a lot of you got 10 or 20 guitars. I had 50, 60. They were in every room in my house growing up. My parents just was like, I took over the house. I had guitars and amps and cabinets in every room, everywhere. I learned that you don't need all that stuff. It's just about how you play the thing. So I can take, what you'll see later is my $149 mini child guitar that I bought off the wall at a Sam Ash or something like that a long time ago. $140 I bought the thing for my nephew when he was like 8. Didn't use it. Now I use it to teach on. So I'm going to show you how you could take a $140 guitar and make it play. And just, it's not the guitar, it's you, the player. So let's go over some of my stuff. So here I'm playing a custom Dean guitar that I built at the Dean Custom Shop with my name inside in the dots. Instead of dots, I put the name Shredder because the shop manager was like, hey, your name fits right into the dots. I was like, what are you talking about? He goes, if you take out all the dots, they spell your name. It's just enough letters to do the dots. I said, wow, holy cow. So I did the word Shredder, my last name, in the dots. If you see that, SHREDDER. Yes, that is my name, and this is my 2 spades, because the Ace of Spades, Motorhead is one of my all-time favorite bands. They just wrote some of the meanest, nastiest music, lyrically and riff-wise, and drumming. Everything about the band is incredible. The bass is off the hook. The guitar riffs are incredible. The drums are insane. Then the vocals are threatening. The lyrics are threatening. I mean, it is a savage biker band that I just grew up loving. And today they're just probably my favorite band of all time. Just awesome riffage. So if you want straight rock and roll that'll kick your face in, there is nobody better than Motorhead. There's a reason why Lemmy is who he is. So that's why I got the spades in here at the 12. So I did that, and by the way, I went down to that shop. I picked all the wood out for this guitar. I went to every section of the shop, and I picked out each piece. I picked out this piece of ebony on the neck. It was the darkest piece. They have to wait a period of time for the neck. Once they glue the board to the neck, well, actually, what I did was, first I chose this piece of neck because this is a 3-piece neck. And when they glue the neck together, they have to make sure they don't warp. So they wait like 8 or 12 weeks to make sure the neck doesn't warp. So they glue the 3 pieces together. They all sit on a shelf for 2 or 3 months. They come back and they check them and they make sure that they're not warped. So of those necks, I just happened to decide on the profile. That's what I get to choose, was my profile. And I chose the old profile that is on the original USA Dime Rust series of his Dime Bolt. So they made a few Rust guitars. I had one of them. And I chose the neck profile off that one when I had it. They don't use that profile anymore. It's a V profile that only Dime used. And it's pretty wicked. And that's what I got on the back here is a V neck. I don't have a U shape. This is a V neck back here. Also, this fretboard, as I was getting to this board, is the darkest piece of ebony they had at the time I picked my pieces. When I went down there, they knew I was coming, so they anticipated that, and they had a whole bunch of fresh wood for me to pick from. I chose this piece of ebony. It was the darkest piece. I wanted the darkest piece, the tightest grain. This was it. Also, these frets are the largest frets that anyone makes. This is the, I guess they would call this a, I forget the size. It's a Jesker wire. And I forget the actual number by now, but I think if you look it up, it's the same one that Zach Wild uses. Yngwie uses the same fret. I believe it's a Dunlop. Maybe it's 4100 might be the number. I'll look it up. It is the largest fret width-wise and height-wise, so it's a pretty fat fret. So I used to scalp out all my Fender guitars when I grew up playing Fender Strats. I would scalp them all out real deep, like Yngwie's guitars, real deep. And so these frets that I have now do the same thing, but instead of me having to carve out the wood this way, the scalp goes like this on the high side of the fret, because now the fret's taller. And so either way, your finger doesn't touch the board, which is what you want. That's what scalping really, that is really what it does, and that's the purpose is so you don't ever touch the wood, because that's friction, and if you want to play smoother and faster, you don't want friction. So if you scalp out a Fender Stratocaster, you will instantly become a smoother player, or learn to be one when you're on a scalp guitar, because you'll play smoother, because you'll never touch the bottom, and that does make a difference. And so these extra jumbo frets that are taller and wider give you that same feel. The width doesn't matter. I just like the width for the feel. But the fact that they're taller means I'll never touch the wood. So when I want to do things like, it's like playing on a scalp guitar where I've dug out the wood. I don't feel the bottom of this board ever. I never ever touch this fretboard. But on every single other guitar I play, I know I'm touching the board because I can feel it. And that's why you'll see boards that are worn out. When the board is worn out under the bottom, it means somebody's touching it a lot. So for that reason, I use a very tall fret, just like Zach uses and Yngwie uses. Only Yngwie also scallops out on top of using this fret. I don't bother to go that far with these guitars because I don't care for the feel of that feel. Only on the scalp Fender will that feel right. It doesn't, scalping out any other style guitar doesn't feel right to me. I don't know why that is, but that's the guitar that I use to scalp out, and that's the only one I would scalp out because these, they don't feel right. But doing it to a Fender feels natural. And so that's that. Now, you've seen on my other videos, I'm going to show you in a little while, my Green Dean. The Green Dean has the stock standard headstock that comes on all the Deans. This guitar has an oversized headstock, which is 1 inch longer. And if you notice that, if you pair it up at the nut, this one would be longer. You'll see it's kind of huge, and even in this picture, it's bigger. This is what they call their oversized headstock. So if you measured it from here to here, from there down to here, you're going to see the distance on this one's 1 inch longer than on the other one. And with that being said, this is the ML body. It's my favorite body because I like the Explorers and the Vs. They were my favorite guitars. Growing up, were Explorers and Vs. I had them both, all the Gibsons. I also had all the Deans, and then when I had the MLs as well. The ML stands for Michael Lawrence. I think his last name was Michael Lawrence, I think is the guy's name. Dean has a friend. Dean Zielinski's buddy Michael was a buddy of his, and they named it after his buddy Michael. I think the last name of the guy is Lawrence. I'm not sure, but I thought that's what it was. But anyway, that's the history of the ML. Let's get to my pickups. So this is a Mezzinator pickup that I designed with Dean called the Mezzinator. If you flip it over, it'll say Mezzinator. You can call it Dean and ask for one, or at least you probably can. I know you used to be able to. It's just the way I just chose to make it. They don't deal with the people that Dime had that guitar. The Bill Lawrence pickup that Dime had, they don't deal with them anymore because Bill passed away, and so they don't deal with his wife anymore, so they make their own pickups now. And I said to them, hey, I want the Bill Lawrence pickup. They're like, we don't do that one. But we'll make you one just like it. So I said, no problem. So this is basically the same characteristics of that pickup. It's wound the same way, out of the same material, using the same magnets. So basically it's the same pickup, but in order to make it different, because you can't make it exact by patent standards, not allowed to, we wound this one slightly different than the Bill Lawrence pickup. So it has the same characteristics as the Bill Lawrence, sounds very much like it, only it's a little bit looser because that's what I like, and it's extremely hot. So this is called the Dean Mezzinator, and if you want one, you just tell them, hey, I want you to make my pickup to the specs of Mezzyshredder's pickup, the Mezzinator. Give me the same pickup, and they'll make it for you. It's pretty badass. If you like the sound, very, very hot. And it's loose at the top. So if you like a lot of, if you don't like it very compressed, which I don't, you'll get a lot of that non-compressed sound out of this pickup, which makes it really, really easy for pinches and artificial sounds. They just pop right out. You really don't have to do much to the sound to get it to come out. Just be close with your pick on that tone. I told you about the skin pick ratio thing I explained in my other video. If you're even close with that skin pick ratio, it comes right out. You don't have to try. So that's that pickup. Now this other pickup here is the same pickup that's in my green guitar. We'll get to that guitar in a minute. This pickup is the Dean Dime Time. This is the Dean Dime DM. They call this the DMT, which is the D Magnetics Technologies. That's their pickup department. They call this the Dime Time. This is the same pickup that comes in Dime's guitar. It's a very warm and hot neck pickup. I guess you could use it anywhere, really. It doesn't matter if it's on the neck or not, but that's where they put it. That's where I put it because it's really designed for the neck. It's warm. So you can hear the difference. If I go down to my Mezzy pickup, and then you listen to this other one, that Dime Time is really warm. You can hear how warm it is. So that's the neck pickup I got there. And the way I run my setups is I run my pickups extremely close to the strings, only leaving a couple thousandths of an inch between them there. So I basically raise the pickups up until they're like less than the thickness of this pick close to the strings. I don't know if you can see it, how close. If I take my fingers off of there, just get yourself an idea how close those strings are. Okay? I run them really, 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 really close. So the fact is, if I bend this bar back too far, well, then my string is going to hit this pickup because it's going to drop that far. That's how close I bring them in. But I know exactly how far to pull the bar back so that magnets don't suck the string into the pickup and shut down the sound. So it's all about, learning how you want your own guitar set up. I choose to have my strings so close to the guitar that if I pull this back any farther than, say, a little bit like that, then my string will suck into that magnet and it'll lose the sound. Or if I pull back any farther than I do, because I don't run a cover ever, I'll lose the springs. They'll literally pop right out of the guitar on me. And they have live. They just pop right out. So then my sound guy will hand me another guitar and find my springs later. We keep a bag of them because I just lose them all the time. So that's what's going on there. And when I run my bridge, I keep it exactly, if you look at where my Floyd Rose is, I keep it exactly parallel. I don't have it sitting up or down. My bridge sits exactly parallel to the body because that's the way I like it. And so that's how the setup works. My setup is extremely tight. I keep my strings extremely close to the guitar, maybe 4 or 5 thousandths off, not 7 or 8 or 11. Like I think Fender wants them 11 thousandths off from factory. I run mine at like 4 or 5. They're right over the frets. The neck is so straight that the string literally is sitting over the fret a couple thousandths of an inch. Okay, so that's what that is. And my guitars are all made out of very, very heavy mahogany because I like mahogany bodies. I think they are the warmest. I just like their sound the best. Big, heavy mahogany bodies is what I like. I did use Fenders for a while, but they're great for playability, but I don't care for the tone. It's not big and thick like these are. Now that's this guitar. And so that's basically all there is going on with this thing. And, that's it. So we'll go on to the other one in a second here. Put this one down, and I'll show you what that green one is that I typically play. This is my Dean Dime Slime, my Dimebag Darrell USA Slime. I had this custom built for me. That's why the headstock is green. I paid extra money for that. I also paid to get my fret put in it, or the one I like, same one that's in my red ones. These are the biggest fret that Dunlop makes, or Jesker makes it for Dunlop. Dunlop doesn't make their own frets. They're made by Jesker Wire Company, and so Jesker has a number. I think it's like 43 something or other. 43-118 might be the number, maybe, that this is. And then it transfers over to a Dunlop 4100 number, their own number they use. But this is the largest and widest fret you can get. Can't get nothing bigger. So, this is the Dean Dime Slime. This has the same pickup in the neck that the other one had, only the casing on this one is different. They put the cream casing on it for some reason. But it is also a mahogany guitar, very high-end mahogany, so it'll have that same sound the other one had. Now, the other guitar the wood is considerably heavier on the other guitar, so the tone pops out a little bit more than on this one. This one, the tone is a little bit cleaner. It's a little looser on the other guitar, which I like. Slightly different characteristics on this guitar. A little cleaner in the sound, not so organic and not so broken. Not so distorted, it's more of a cleaner distorted sound. Than on my other guitar. In the neck, down here, we do have the original Bill Lawrence XL500 because that's where they were putting in it back when I bought this. Bill didn't die yet. Bill Lawrence was still around making the pickups, selling them, and Dean had a nice relationship with him and they were buying the pickups from him. So this has more of a dime bag sound. Not so much my sound. Although they're very close. And so this has the standard size headstock. If you look, it's just not quite as big as the other one. It might look it, but it's not. The distance from here to there is 1 inch less on this one. And it has his standard dots in there. And they got the dime time up front. We got the Bill Lawrence XL500 here. Same mahogany body. Again, I don't run the backs. You're limited on what you can do with the bar if you run the backs. The other thing is I like to fine-tune my guitars all the time, so I adjust them regularly based on the weather. So if this bridge is not sitting exactly perfectly 100% flat against that body, if it's even off like a millimeter, I can just go in the back with a tweak of a turn and make it perfect again. And if I'm playing out somewhere, then my sound guy can do the same thing. When you're playing out and you're playing often, you don't have time to put covers on because you don't have time to take them off to make adjustments. Also, when you want to pull back on the bridge, that plate gets in the way because it stops the springs from moving farther than they would if the plate wasn't there. So they can move actually farther out than where the plate is if the plate's not there, and that gives you more movement on the bar. And when you don't care about what's going on with the sound because you got somebody else to fix the guitars, you can just kind of whip them any way you want, and you're more concerned about producing sound than you are conserving the guitar because somebody's there to fix it for you. So if you yank on these things the way we do, somebody's always there to fix it. We have spare parts, and somebody's always able to fix whatever breaks. And so that's what's going on with this guitar. They both use the Grover tuners. And I don't know, that's pretty much it for that. Now, I will say this. Nobody really knows this. You guys, my viewers, you don't know this. I'm going to share this with you now. When you see me pop these things, well, Dime had a secret to the way he did it. We know what the secret was. He was using the Digitech whammy pedal. And the reason why he used it, even though he will never say it, as a player, I know why, because it's the same reason why I use my pedal. It boosts the signal. So when you use a whammy bar, if it's a serious part of your sound, such as mine, and it was of Dime's, then you need a boost in the signal to make it last longer and be stronger. It's just like putting your guitar on steroids. Steroids are just so much stronger than a guy not using them. It's the same thing for the guitar. You put the guitar on steroid boost, it's going to have it's going to have a hell of a lot more sound than if you just don't have the boost. So, when he whacked that whammy pedal all the time, it sent a surge of signal through that one string that he was playing through that the same thing does for me. What happens is I can end up popping notes and pulling harmonics on notes that you guys without the pedal can't do, because the signal from the pedal will boost through a normal note that would never cut and allow that note to cut because the signal is pushing it that hard. Now, I don't use the same pedal as him because I don't want to be exactly like him, but he also liked it probably because of the octave thing. He would raise the sound an octave up. But instead, I use another pedal that people are always like, what do you use? What do you use? Because I get a wicked sound out of it. It's this guy. I use a Bad Horsey 2, the Steve Vai Morley Bad Horsey 2. The regular Bad Horsey does not do the same thing. You need the bed horsey 2 with the boost button, and if you notice, I run my level at 100% all the way, and I run this top button here, which is called your contour, which is really just the amount of sound that the pedal, the boost signal, the type of boost it is this. So I put this around 3/4 of the way, and I jam this down 100%, and this is the pedal that makes all the sound. So the difference is night and day. I'll show you what it sounds like if I hit this pedal, or if I hit this whammy bar and I don't use that boost, and I don't hit that pedal. Here's what you get. And you get on that one note. If I move to the other notes that I was using with the boost, I get this. And it's not a bad sound, but it's short, and it doesn't quite have the snot that it would have if I simply hit this pedal. Now I hit the pedal on the same notes, and I get this. Much better. Stronger signal, lasts a lot longer, and I can force that harmonic sound onto notes that you can't normally get it without the pedal boost. Right there, let's say this one. You'll never get that note without a pedal. And this guy. Let's see, that's not even it. This guy. You won't get this one at the 3rd fret. So the natural ones are at the 4th fret. If you want the ones at the 3rd fret, which really don't come through at all, without the pedal, at 3rd fret, I get this. It's very weak. That same note with the pedal, look at the difference. Now, when you're live, you don't need more than that. I mean, if you do, you just pop it again. You just keep making the noise. See? Till you find out where you want it. And you just keep whacking it out. But that pedal is responsible for a lot of that because it's boosting the signal of that one string that you're hitting. So when you boost this, you can use different things to boost it. But the nice thing about this pedal is because it turns on and off automatically, the signal goes on when you want it, and it turns right off the second you don't want it. So the second you lift that bar back, you just tap that pedal and kabang, kaboom. You got all different versions of that sound. Now I could tweak that pedal just a little bit, and all of a sudden, the sound's just a little different. Now I got none of that. It's just cleaner. I had it revved up a little high before, so it was boosting it so high that it was actually breaking up the signal. And when you break up the signal, it breaks the sound up just like you heard before. Now that I've backed off some of that hot, it's not breaking it up. It's a cleaner boost. And it just lasts longer, but has more sound to it. Also, I use it in rhythm, so I'll do things like this with the rhythm of it. Oof, now we see the guitar's way out of tune there. Let's see if I can bring it back. All right, now another thing I do with this pedal is this. And I know nobody else does this because I know it's not in any music. I use the pedal for my rhythm sounds. You can see what I'm saying. So I use it for rhythm sounds like that as well, and swells during those rhythm chords. So there's a lot of cool things that that pedal will do. Now, as far as amplification goes, all these little sounds that you hear when I play, for the sake of these videos, I'm just using a very small, simple amplifier. It's probably 20 years old. It's from like the year 98, 99, or 2000, somewhere like that. It's when Line 6 first came out with the little practice amps, the Spider series. Well, I used to use the 2. I had the original Spider, then the 2, then the 3, then the 4. Well, this is Spider 4. So the little Spider 4 with the 8-inch speaker, it's called a Spider 415. You buy them for like 99 bucks. That's all I've been using for all these videos. I put it on the Insane channel, and that's all. I run with it. That's all it is, just a little Line 6 speaker thing. And they're great for little rooms because they fill them up because they break up real nice. If you put it in too big a room, it sounds like trash. Now live, I use a diesel cabinet that's old. It's from 2008. It was made out of Brazilian birchwood. I had specially ordered, made for me. I don't know. I know they don't use Brazilian birchwood anymore, as far as I know. I don't know what they're using, but you can buy the cabinets now at guitars at mezzyshredder.com. You never used to be able to do that. The cabinets came down in price. So I don't know if this they've come down a lot in price. I don't know if it's the same exact cabinet, but I use a Brazilian birchwood. I use the G12K100 speakers from Celestian. They're specifically made for metal. They came out around 2008. And it was to supersede or replace the Vintage 30 because it's a great rock speaker. And it's a very good metal speaker used in tons of classic metal music. And just that, it's used in classic metal music. So just like everything else in time, things move forward and things get developed. So that is a bigger, better, badder, heavier speaker, delivers more power and punch than a Vintage 30. And so that's what I use inside my diesel cabinets. And to me, it really is a fact. It's true. The cabinet is the majority of your tone. If you're a tone freak, then the speaker cabinet that the tone comes out of is more important than the actual amplifier that you're using to make the tone. And so when you'll realize that when you get a really good cabinet and you throw any head in front of it, all those heads will sound great through that cabinet. That means that is a great cabinet. If it takes any pig and dresses it up, you know it's a great cabinet. So my diesel cabinet, nothing sounds bad through it. Whatever head you have sounds better through my cabinet than if you played that head through something else, because this cabinet allows all the characteristics of your amp and your guitar to come through. Cabinets filter the sound. That's where the filtration takes place, is in the cabinet. So the better the cabinet, the less filtration, the truer the sound. And so the better the cabinet, you're hearing the true sound of what the amplifier and the guitar really sound like, unfiltered. Just like if you had 10 coffee filters in your coffee and you drank it, it will be nowhere near as strong as if you only had one filter there. While a diesel cabinet is like having no filter there. It's just all the sound comes out, and it's rarely ever filtered through the system itself. So I choose to run a cabinet like that, and it's a very expensive cabinet. It was much more money than the ones you buy today. But I don't know if that's because they found a way to mass produce them at a lesser price, cheaper, less expensive of a cost. I bought mine in 2008, and they were not around back then the way they are today. They were much harder to find. I waited for mine. And so they don't even build them right. They build them all weird. They do parts of them at a time. But that's the cabinet that I use is a diesel, and the head that I use is the original from I think it's the late 90s is when I probably got it, when they were newer, was the original Line 6 Bogner designed HD100 MK1. I don't like the MK2s. They're okay. I would use one in a bind. They're not a bad amplifier. I just like the MK1 series better. They changed a few things in the newer one, the second version. I just happen to like the first one better. So I use the MK1. There's an MK1 and an MK2. HD100 MK1, and there's an HD100 MK2. Both designed by that Bogner guy, Lee Horn Bogner. He's a vintage amp guy. Builds his own, what do you call those, boutique amps, very expensive stuff. He got in there and designed an amplifier with Line 6, and it's to me, it's just phenomenal. All the effects that I need are built right into the amp. I program right into the sound. I go out live and I play, and there's no dancing around on buttons because I'm no dancer. And very large players have somebody on the side of the stage working all their pedals for them. I never had that. The best I got was a guy to set my stuff up incorrectly. So I got tired of dancing on the stages. So when I found out that Line 6 made the amplifier with all the effects in it, the effects are very good quality. and they really just rival everything else that's out there. And after using all the regular single channel, the boutique companies, or going through all the major metal amplifiers and the companies that make them all, not having effects in the amp to me is just like, I'm not going to do it anymore. I can never get the same quality of tone adding in pedals to an amp that doesn't have them. I'd rather just, they're built right in, they sound great. The delay that I use in this thing is like, this is insane. The level of thickness that it creates and the overlap and the overlay and the doubling effect is phenomenal. I've never found anything to match it. So I get everything I want out of the sound, out of this Line 6 HD100 head. This little spider amp, when you're in a bedroom, mimics the sound pretty darn close. And at the end of the day, that's what it's all about, is your live sound. You don't really care about anything else, because when you go to record at the studio, they're going to alter your sound for you anyway in the studio using a bunch of equipment you would never have and pay for. So there's no such thing as, this is my sound. When you say that, you're talking about a live sound. Because anytime you go to a studio, no matter what you bring there to record through, they're going to filter it with their equipment anyway, and that's just how it works. That's the game. So, it's like going to a racetrack and saying my car is stock. You're rolling up there with a car, but it's modified. It looks stock, though. You've done all this work to it. It's not stock anymore. It's the same thing with the equipment. You can't go to a recording studio and record with your own equipment and just have it be your equipment. It's not possible. It's never done, and isn't going to be that way. So when you go into a recording studio, you can say you use this equipment, and that's how you got the sound you get, but you get that sound with a lot of help from the engineers and the equipment they're using as well. So in a raw situation like this, where you're live, you're playing in your room, or you're playing in a show somewhere, that's your real sound. When you say, this is my sound, it means unfiltered, unprocessed through a producing studio. It's just, this is what you get when you play. You strum the chord, there it is. So live, I use a cabinet with the Line 6 heads, and the amps, the effects are built right in. At home, I'm using these little Spider 15s. You know what it is? It's a little thing like this big, and it's just a Spider 15. It's just a small version of it, because it has all the effects built right in, and the distortion in these little amps is insane, and it has volume control for the channel and a master volume, which you don't ever get. So they're mimicking the bigger amps with the little one here, and you're getting the same level of effect on the smaller amp. You can control the channel volume. So what I do is, for the videos, is most of the time I boost the channel volume as high as they will go, and then I use a minimal amount of master volume, because the channel volume is the balls of the sound. If you want more balls with lower volume, you crank up the channel volume and use the minimal amount of master volume, which is what I do. If you use a little bit of channel volume and a lot of master volume, you got no balls whatsoever, and the sound is weak. So I use a lot of channel volume, and then I just adjust it a little bit at the master volume. And then that's how I get this. Yeah, so I'll do it right now. Crank up my channel volume a little bit. I won't even touch the master volume. And there's my channel volume. My channel volume is set at 12 o'clock. My master volume is set at 1, which is like 7 o'clock p.m. I guess it could be a.m., but it's at 7 o'clock. And so the point is, there's no volume on the master. All the volume is on the channel volume, giving it some balls. That's a little 8-inch speaker. And if you listen real closely, I put a little bit of delay on the end of even my rhythms, because otherwise they sound dry. Now that's for this live sound. If I was recording, then there would be a lot of rhythm tracks being cut, and a lot of them would be dry, and the signal would be like this, where you would hear nothing but this. That's the tightness that I'd get. All right? So if I'm tracking, then there'd be 3 or 4 guitar tracks like that. And then for all the pieces where there weren't that same rhythm being played, if it was another layer of track, another rhythm, a fill, something like that, then I would slip in a little bit of this. A little bit of this delay. That's too much right there, but I'd probably have something like this. Just a little bit. For parts that would go. And there'd be little things like that. Now, that's even just a little much for the rhythm section that I would be playing. If I was doing fills, it'd be more like this. You hear a little bit of that delay. Hear that? Little bit. When it comes time for me to cut the solo, well, then I would increase it a little bit, and it would be more like this. You hear that? So there'd be a little bit of that delay. Hear that? That'd be my signal if I was cutting the solo. And finally, as I said I would show you, my last guitar that I use. I only own 3 guitars anymore, folks. 2 Deans and 1 child-sized mini guitar that my nephew did not want. This thing was, I bought it about 10 years ago. $149 on the wall of either a Guitar Center or a Sam Ash. They're both right across the street from each other, so I don't really remember which one which one sold it. But I'll say this thing's got the same hot pickups that you'd find in any $500, $600, $700 Jackson. So it's so hot. I mean, through a little $99 amplifier to play a $140 guitar. I mean, it's a pretty darn good guitar. Then if you put it in drop D, and it's like, you know, it still rips. And if you're practicing little solos, this is a great travel guitar. If you just want to practice little things on the road, whether you go to a relative's house, you're going on a business trip, you're going to a party, you just want to sit in the corner and jam. These little guitars are great to bring because they play like real good guitars. They play like a regular sized guitar, and they have super huge frets and a quality fretboard. It's like 0 radius. I mean, why wouldn't... These guitars are great. They're great for moving around and just having on you all the time. And they play really well. So if you just wanted to practice some skills, maybe you go to college and you go to school and you're sitting around, you got some time, these you throw it on your back. And this little backpack, they come with a little backpack strap. You slam this thing on your back. You do all those little drills that are in my videos where you're going like this. And you're working on little things. This is a guitar that catapults your playing. That's originally why when my nephew didn't want it, I was like, you know what, I'll take this thing, I can throw it in my trunk and just throw it in there, literally toss it in. And it's great to have. Guys, that's some of the gear that I use. That's basically what I'm using is the head, the amp, the cabinets, a couple guitars, 1 pedal. That's what I use. I used to use a plethora of stuff, thousands of pieces of gear, but when you're moving around on the road, you want less is more, because unless you got somebody helping you move it, which sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. When there's nobody to help you moving it, you want less. But that's my gear. Leave a comment on what you run. I'd like to know what kind of pedals you guys run. I want to know what kind of head you're matching to the cabinet. If you're running a combo amp, what are you running? Are you running any pedals? What's the deal? I want to know what kind of stuff you guys are running. Do you like Floyd Rose? Do you like the Edge Pro Bridge better? Are you an Ibanez player? What are you playing? Why do you choose what you choose? Is it because of the wood, the sound, the feel? Tell me what's going on with your stuff, because your opinion matters too. This is your channel. Let's find out what you guys are doing and tell me what's going on with you. See you in the next video.